Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits areas affected by landslides in Wayanad in India's southern state of Kerala, visits relief camp to meet survivors of the landslides, also attends review meeting. India's development partnership continues with Maldives. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar attends ceremony for virtual inauguration of water and sanitation projects across 28 islands in Maldives. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko says his country's air defense forces destroyed suspected drones from Ukraine, adds violation of Belarusian airspace occurred in eastern Nogilev area. Student protests in Bangladesh widened to target more officials. Bangladesh's Chief Justice Abadul Hassan and Central Bank Governor Abdur Rauf Talukdar stepped down following student groups' warning. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is visiting Wayanad in Kerala, took part in review meeting to assess the disaster impact following the deadly landslides. The meeting was organized at District Collectorate in Kalpeta, the headquarter of Wayanad. In review meeting, Kerala's Chief Secretary presented the status of rescue operations and the extent of damages in the disaster. Kerala Governor Arif Mohammed Khan, Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, Union Minister of State Suresh Gopi, Subcommittee of Kerala Cabinet and other important officials were present in this meeting. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi carried out an aerial survey of landslide-hit areas of Kerala's Wayanad. Prime Minister undertook an aerial survey in Wayanad before physically visiting the location of the disaster. He also observed the worst affected areas of Pochimattam, Mudukai and Chorimala. At last, 226 people died. Several remain missing after landslides hit the region on 30th of July in one of the biggest natural disasters to have impacted the southern state. Prime Minister also visited landslides hit areas in the state and took stock of the situation. He was briefed about the evacuation efforts being undertaken in the area. Prime Minister Modi visited a relief camp to meet and interact with the victims and survivors of the landslides in Wayanad. 9 persons spoke to Prime Minister as representatives of the survivors living in the camps. And after visiting the relief camp, Prime Minister Modi visited a hospital and interacted with the victims and survivors there. He visited the private hospital in Mepadi, where he met 4 people who were rescued from disaster site and are currently under treatment. Prime Minister comforted the patients and also met with the health workers. On to some other stories. India's President Draupadi Murmu, who is visiting Timor-Leste, addressed the Indian community at Delhi. President Murmu said that Grand Collar awarded to her is a symbol of warm relations between the two countries. She also announced the opening of an Indian embassy in Delhi to facilitate the diaspora as well as work towards closer ties between the nations.
ग्रांड कलर ऑफ टिमोर लेस्ट का सम्मान भी इसी स्नेह और विशेष मित्रता का ही एक दस्तक है। मुझे ये जानकर प्रसन्नता हुई है कि भारत टिमोर-लेस्टे के साथ राजनीतिक संबंध स्थापित करने वाले पहले देशों में से एक था। दोनों देशों के बीच मौजूद एवं सौहार्दपूर्ण संबंध लोकतंत्र और बहुलता के साझा मूल्यों पर आधारित है। तिमोर-लेस्टे के साथ काम करने के लिए तैयार है। हम पारंपरिक लाभ के लिए सहयोग को बेहतर ढंग से आगे बढ़ाने के लिए तिमोर-लेस्टे की सरकार और यहाँ के लोगों के साथ अपना जुड़ाव जारी है। आपको ये बताते हुए खुशी हो रही है कि हम जल्द ही तिमोर-लेस्टे में एक दूतावास खोलने जा रहे हैं। भारतीय नागरिकों और भारतीय मूल के व्यक्तियों के लिए अधिक आसान कॉन्सुलर एवं अन्य सेवाएं सुनिश्चित होंगे और इससे तिमोर-लेस्टे की सरकार और लोगों के साथ बेहतर बातचीत संभव हो।
Earlier, India's President Draupadi Murmu was conferred with the Grand Collar of the Order of Timor-Leste, the country's highest civilian award, by her counterpart, Jose Ramos Horta. The award is recognition of her achievements in public service and dedication to education, social welfare and empowerment of women. President Murmu said the honor is a reflection of the ties of friendship between India and Timor-Leste. President Murmu and her counterpart from Timor-Leste issued a joint press statement praising Timor-Leste. President called the Southeast Asian nation a good friend of India.
Let's enjoy warm and friendly relations based on our shared commitment to the values of democracy and pluralism. I am confident that this will further strengthen bilateral relations between the two countries. I am deeply honored by the Grand Collar of Order of Timor-Leste bestowed upon me. This is a reflection of the deep bond of friendship between India and Timor-Leste.
And President of Timor-Leste, Jose Ramos Horta, said that Timor-Leste will soon open an embassy in Delhi and an Indian embassy will be opened in Delhi.
With the opening of Timor-Leste embassy in Delhi soon, the opening of an embassy of India in Delhi soon, we will expand, enhance the relationship from A to Z in areas like agriculture, education, health, medical field, digitalization, particularly of our payment system with our central bank and our civil service.
President Draupadi Murmu arrived in Delhi, Timor-Leste, on the final leg of a three-nations visit earlier on Saturday. In a special gesture, she was warmly received by President Jose Ramos Horta of Timor-Leste at the airport. Cheerful children greeted her on the way from the airport. The President was also accorded a ceremonial welcome at the Presidential Palace in Delhi, the capital of Timor-Leste. And President Draupadi Murmu and her counterpart held productive talks at the Presidential Palace in Delhi. The two leaders held discussions covering various areas of bilateral cooperation, including IT, digitalization, health and pharmaceuticals, agriculture, capacity building, among others. And President Murmu also met the Prime Minister of the island nation, and the two leaders witnessed an exchange of 3 MOUs. The first one, MOU on cultural exchange to promote more people-to-people ties. It will also support cooperation in the field of protection, conservation and promotion of cultural heritage of both the countries. The second MOU between Prasar Bharati and Timor-Leste public broadcaster RTTL to strengthen cooperation in the field of radio broadcasting through co-production of programs and exchange of personnel and training. MOU for visa waiver for holders of diplomatic and official passports. Jaideep Mazumdar, Secretary East in India's External Affairs Ministry, addressed the media in Delhi, the capital of Timor-Leste. He spoke about warm relations between the two countries and how India's president's visit to Timor-Leste will add further momentum to the relationship.
Rashtrapatiji's visit is very timely and, as I said, of great significance. As one of the first countries to recognize Timor-Leste upon her gaining independence, India and Timor-Leste have enjoyed warm relations and a developmental partnership over many years that will now be given fresh impetus through this visit.
And he further said that as an upcoming member of ASEAN, which is at the center of India's Act East policy, Timor-Leste holds great significance.
ASEAN is a crucial pillar in India's Act East policy, and in the light of ASEAN's decision to admit Timor-Leste as its 11th member, our relationship with Timor-Leste will only gain greater significance.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar, who is visiting Maldives today, attended a program at the President's office in the island nation for the virtual inauguration and handing over of water and sanitation projects across 28 islands. The projects were commissioned under Indian line of credit. He stressed that the bedrock of India-Maldives partnership is mutual benefit for the people. Jaishankar said India-Maldives development cooperation embodies the motto of partnership imagined by Maldives, delivered by India.
India-Maldives development cooperation embodies the motto of our partnership, imagined by Maldives, delivered by India. It will be our endeavor to harness this defining feature of our relationship and scale greater heights. And I hope, Excellency President, with your guidance and encouragement, our joint efforts, our joint activities, and our shared vision will form an important milestone in the journey of our two nations together.
Earlier, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar called on President Mohammad Murmu and conveyed greetings of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Minister Jaishankar said New Delhi was committed to deepen India-Maldives ties for the benefit of the people in the two countries and the region. Jaishankar's visit to Maldives is in line with India's vision of neighborhood first and Sagar policy. Earlier, Dr. Jaishankar met his Maldivian counterpart, Musa Zamar, to discuss all areas of bilateral cooperation to deepen partnership between India and the island nation. Both leaders witnessed signing of MOU between National Payments Corporation of India and Ministry of Economic Development and Trade of Maldives on introduction of digital payment system in Maldives. After holding bilateral talks, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar said India's partnership with Maldives is based on our deep desire to work together for one another's welfare and interests.
India's partnership with the Maldives is based on our deep desire to work together for each other's welfare and interests. It is a partnership that has enabled us to always swiftly and effectively respond to challenges as witnessed in the past.
The minister also highlighted India's neighborhood first policy, said that Maldives is one of the cornerstones of India's policy.
Maldives is one of the cornerstones of our neighborhood first policy. It is also one of our vision saga, as well as of our commitment to the global south. For India, neighborhood is a priority, and in the neighborhood, Maldives is a priority. We also share the closest of bonds of history and kinship.
The External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is on a 3-day visit to the archipelago nation. This is Minister's first visit to the country since Murmu government took charge last year. Dr. Jaishankar also met Defence Minister of Maldives, Mahmoud Ghassan Mamoon. Dr. Jaishankar informed via X social media that he discussed defence and security cooperation, joint initiatives for maritime security, and shared interest in maintaining peace and stability in the region. The two countries also signed an agreement to introduce UPI in Maldives. Former YouTube CEO and early Google employee Susan Wojcicki has died at the age of 56, 2 years after being diagnosed with cancer, confirming the news on microblogging site X. Google CEO Sundar Pichai expressed his deep sadness, stating he was unbelievably saddened by the loss of his dear friend. The remnants of Storm Debbie caused flash flooding in northern Pennsylvania and southern New York on Friday, leaving dozens of people stranded in their homes. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un revisited a flooded area on the country's borders with China to address plans to support those affected by recent heavy rains and floods. The plan includes bringing about 15,400 people to the country's capital until new homes are built. And still to come on this edition of TT India Live. US presidential rivals Donald Trump and Kamala Harris rally voters. India's finance minister attends meeting with members of board of directors of RBI.
What is the fundamental reason for South Asia and beyond being so unstable? And what can India do about it? And how can India navigate this very, very tricky neighborhood?
You can't just have connectivity physical, you need ideological connectivity. You need the identities and the belief systems of your ruling elites in the region to have something in common with the Indian experience. Because after all, the civilizational foundation of this neighborhood comes from India's and the subcontinent's history, which is shared.
Welcome back. You're watching TT India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. A tragic plane crash occurred in Sao Paulo, Brazil on Saturday morning, resulting in the loss of all 61 lives on board. The plane had 57 passengers and crew members. The turboprop aircraft was en route from Cascavel to Guarulhos Airport when it crashed in Vinhedo, with the footage showing a vertical descent and spiral fall. Authorities have recovered 2 black box flight recorders which have been sent to Brasilia for analysis as part of the ongoing investigation into the cause of the crash. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko announced on Saturday that the country's air defense systems have successfully intercepted and destroyed multiple objects believed to be drones that had entered the Belarusian airspace from Ukraine on Friday.
At
16:04 GMT, at an altitude of 1.5 kilometers and a range of 6.5 kilometers, the Air Defense Forces destroyed several targets over the territory of Belarus. Overnight and this morning, a search for what was destroyed is underway. We suspect that these were attack drones which had evidently violated Belarusian airspace originating from Ukraine.
Moving on, Bangladesh's Chief Justice and Central Bank Governor have resigned. Officials informed on Saturday as student protests forced Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to flee have widened to target more officials appointed during her time in office. Chief Justice Abdul Hassan resigned, the Law Ministry's advisor Asif Nazrul informed on a Facebook video post after students warned him of dire consequences if he did not. Bangladesh Bank Governor Abdul Rauf Talukdar has also resigned, but his resignation has not been accepted given the importance of the position. Finance Ministry advisor Salahuddin Ahmed informed reporters. Days earlier, 4 deputy governors were forced to resign after about 300 to 400 bank officials protested against what they said was corruption by top officials. Meanwhile, the 2,000-kilometer border between West Bengal and Bangladesh is vulnerable due to political unrest in Dhaka, prompting the border security force to be on high alert. Many Bangladeshis are attempting to cross into India, with some using valid visas for temporary entry. The BSF is maintaining strict vigilance and educating Indian citizens in border villages. The most vulnerable areas are the unfenced and riverine borders in Sundarban region, where several hundred kilometers of the region remains unsecured. On to some other stories. U.S. presidential rivals Donald Trump and Kamala Harris rallied voters on Friday, a day after confirmation that they will meet in a televised debate next month. Trump headed to Montana, while Harris and her vice presidential pick, Tim Walz, visited Arizona. The Trump and Harris campaigns have confirmed the pair will meet on September 10th in their first live debate. DD India's Nick Harper gets us more from Washington, D.C.
But Donald Trump and Kamala Harris were out on the campaign trail on Friday. Trump has remained off the trail this week, but he did hold a press conference on Thursday at his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. On Friday, he chose to head to the state of Montana, not a battleground state. It's a firmly red Republican state that he won in 2020 by 16% ahead of Joe Biden. He was there, though, to try and oust the current incumbent Democratic Senator John Tester.
4 years, Joe Biden's mental incompetence has given Harris a free rein to impose her ultra-liberal agenda on America and others with her and destroy our country. You're destroying our country. Joe Biden was exposed during the debate. Likewise, Kamala will be exposed during the debate. She will be exposed during the debate, or debates. But so far, she's refusing to debate.
Kamala Harris, though, did get out in front of swing state voters as she tries to sell her vision and message of America to independent, undecided voters.
We are all in here together. I'm told an extraordinary number of folks who are here together because we love our country. We're here to fight for our democracy. Which includes respecting the voices that I think that we are hearing from. And let me just say this on topic of what I think I'm hearing over there.
She was in the city of Phoenix in the swing state of Arizona, a state that shares its border with Mexico, so immigration was very much in focus. She'll be continuing her swing states tour on Saturday, heading to Las Vegas in the state of Nevada. Some polling out over the last 24 hours has suggested that the momentum we've seen in the Democratic Party since it was announced that she was taking over from Joe Biden has been reflected in national polls. A Reuters Ipsos poll showing that she's about 5 percentage points ahead of Donald Trump, 42% to Trump's 37%. And if you narrow that down just to look at swing states, she's a couple of percentage points ahead, 42% for Harris, 40% for Donald Trump. And of course, all of this coming ahead of the two meeting on a debate stage to go toe-to-toe. September the 10th is the date for your diary. It has been confirmed by both campaigns that they will meet in an unscripted, live televised debate. Donald Trump has also said that he would welcome at least 2 other opportunities to debate Kamala Harris. He has said in the past that she's not intelligent enough to debate him. She's saying that if he turns up for the first one, she'll consider whether or not to debate him a second and third time as well. In Washington, Nick Harper, reporting for DD India.
States U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz stopped by a local Mexican restaurant in Phoenix to enjoy a meal. Back home, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman attended a meeting of members of Board of Directors of Reserve Bank of India, RBI, on Saturday. The meeting was held at the office of RBI in New Delhi. The meeting saw participation of RBI Governor Shaktikant Das and other Board of Directors of the bank. The meeting was held after the Union Budget 2024-25 and days after Lok Sabha passed the finance bill with a few amendments. Finance Minister, while addressing a press conference, stressed that banks shall bring innovative products and raise deposits.
My emphasis also would be the same with the banks, and I, in fact, will be meeting with the banks for various reasons to take up government's priority sector lending area, emphasis on some of the government schemes, and also in that process talking to them about how it is important for them to go back to collecting deposit, the old-fashioned get back to collect deposit from everybody, which means banks, RBI has given them some liberty in managing the interest rates. Using that liberty, they should make deposit attractive in the banks.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said that India International Jewellery Show in Mumbai, that India will retaliate if G7 imposes irrational demands on our diamond industry. He added that the government will also have testing for their products before it can get sold in India.
Should the G7 try to impose an irrational demand and force our industry to send all our diamonds first to Antwerp, we are not going to accept that. And if it should require any retaliation, we'll even consider any retaliation. Maybe we can have some G7 goods going to a remote part of India for testing before they're allowed to be sold in India. I've even considered that option.
The Court of Arbitration for Sports will announce the final verdict on ace Indian wrestler Vinesh Phogat's plea against disqualification at the Paris Olympics today. In her appeal, Phogat requested a joint silver as she was found overweight after she won the semi-finals in Paris. CAS clarified that it could not accommodate Vinesh's request for a second weigh-in or reinstate her in the gold medal match. The organization agreed to hear her case regarding the possibility of awarding her a joint silver medal. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. And I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.